Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Fox, and today I wanted to bring you all my honest review of the brand new Exotic holster in Season 4, Waveform. Season 4 launched at the start of TU12. You obtain this Waveform Exotic holster by hitting level 90 on your Season Pass, which is simply achieved by earning XP in-game. Fastest way to do so, in my opinion, without any exploits or bugs, will just be to farm landmarks in the ODZ, or to turn on all directives and farm light zone content, just control points or the things surrounding them that are usually faster to complete. You'll get to there in no time, even if you are a relatively casual player. Waveform is, like everything released this season, very much weighted towards skill builds, and this is definitely one of the better skill exotics out there. What we're going to look at now is it as good as something like Memento, Acosta's, that kind of thing. So let's have a look at what Waveform does first of all. It does come with its natural attributes are skill damage and skill haste, which are perfect. I wouldn't choose any other combinations. That's already a great start. The talent alternating current generates a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, capping at 10 stacks. So that's 30% additional skill damage. After 10 seconds at the cap, the stacks then start to transfer to the other skill, and this process just repeats ad infinitum. So it just goes on forever and ever, essentially. So yeah, it's a great exotic. You don't actually have to do anything. You just equip it, and then half the time your left bumper L1 skill will be 30% stronger, or up to 30% stronger, and half the time your right bumper R1 skill will be the same. Which skills you use is entirely your decision. This exotic works with every skill in the game, but it doesn't buff status effect damage. So, for example, if you are using and I've tested this, a fire chem launcher, the fire starter chem launcher, the explosive damage will be buffed because that's classed as skill damage, but the resulting burn is not buffed. So it's definitely better for non-status skills, and that's maybe where something like Memento, which has lots of skill efficiency, would be better. The build that I put this on is just, everyone's running this build at the moment. It's pretty typical. Empress has definitely taken the top slot for skill damage builds because it gives skill damage and skill efficiency, which both equate to skill damage. The skill efficiency is quite simply the best stat in the game for skill builds by a country mile. It is, I don't want to say too powerful, but there is no reason to run any other stat in the game if you have the option of including skill efficiency. And that brought me to a pretty big question. Is Waveform better than Memento? Yes and no. In certain scenarios, Waveform is absolutely better. In others, it is not. And we'll have a look at that in just a moment. First of all, let's just quickly see how the exotic works. So you can see right now I've got the icon pointing to the right. That means that my turret is not getting the buff. It's currently at 154. Now you see the stacks are transferring just above my radar there. So you see the damage on the right is going up. We were at 154, we're now at 166, and that will keep going up. If I now hit something with my... it's still shooting. So that did 5.4 million damage there. What we're now going to do is wait for this to transfer over to the other side. Now, I'm not suggesting that you run a one-use skill with a deployable skill like I am. I like doing it this way because if you time it right and get a 20-second cooldown skill, that lines up perfectly. If we look at this now, we do no damage, apparently. Awesome. This is really finicky, this one. You have to hit it like somewhere on the top half. I don't know the exact spot. 6.3 million damage. And that wasn't even at full stacks, by the way. I'd started to deplete by then because my aim is absolutely terrible at the moment. So, that would have been a lot, well, not a lot higher than that, but definitely higher than 6.3 million. I think if you want to play it safely and just as easy as possible with the least amount of kind of input, I would just go with the very traditional turret and drone combination because they are deployable skills that last for like 4 to 5 minutes, depending on your build. And yeah, you don't have to think about it. You just keep getting different types of damage between them. Personally, I like to run it with a one-use skill. So I quite like running it with sticky bombs. Seeker mines are really good as well. The different types of chem launcher can be quite powerful, particularly... the fire starter is still good because of the explosive damage, and you're still going to get a lot of burn damage as a skill tier 6 build. But yeah, the point is that you can use Waveform with any other skill. Just experiment and see which one you like. So let's go back to my original concern with this. Is it better than Memento? Now, you may remember me saying that the best stat in the game for skill builds is skill efficiency, and the reason for that is that it includes skill damage. This is all at a 1-for-1 ratio. So 10% skill efficiency is 10% skill damage, but it's also 10% skill haste, status effects, repair skills, skill duration, and obviously that's skill damage. It's literally everything. So any build that has any form of skill will benefit hugely from skill efficiency. particularly if you're running status builds that have high damage. So again, a great example is the Firestarter Chem Launcher. Skill efficiency will not only buff the explosive damage, but it will buff the status damage. It will buff the status duration. It will buff the cooldown, so how fast you get your chems back. It'll even buff how long the the gas cloud stays on the floor if you don't want to detonate straight away. And that's from one single stat. Waveform doesn't offer us that. It offers skill damage only. It doesn't help your healer builds in any way. It doesn't help your status builds that much. It does a little bit, but not really. Whereas in Memento, offers us a total of 30% skill efficiency for being on a skill tier 6 build, and an additional 30% every time we pick up a new stack, a trophy. So that 10-second buff is 30% if you're at skill tier 6, and then you're going to get another 30 anyway. So 60% skill efficiency, that's 60% skill damage, 60% status effects. And, you know, on top of all of that, we get bonus armor and armor regen at 3%. So I didn't really want to turn this into a, you know, every exotic in the game is worse than Memento kind of video. But to be honest, every exotic in the game is worse than Memento. It is the best exotic they've ever released, and it is just too good on skill builds. And to be fair, any build, I use it on my Eclipse build because it buffs the living hell out of my burn damage. I use it on my Pestilence build. I use it on my skill build. So, you know, this was a tough one for me. And you may remember me saying at the start that Waveform is definitely better in certain scenarios, and that's absolutely true. Where Waveform is best in slot and where I will be using it is in content that has a limited amount of ads, NPCs, that are maybe difficult to kill. So a good example is Legendary Strongholds and Legendary Summit, or possibly the Raid. You know, where there's maybe 6 of you, 8 of you, 4 of you, or whatever, and you're not necessarily the person that's closing all the kills, because you might have your skill build with your turret and drone, and you've got a Mantis sniper with you, or an M1A guy, and they just seem to, with their big burst damage, be closing off more kills than you. Memento will be terrible there because you physically can't earn enough trophies, nor do you want to risk running into the middle of a legendary room to pick up your trophies, to gain those, you know, the extra buffs and so on, especially if you're running glass cannon on your skill build, which is pretty meta at the moment. Waveform, you don't need to do any of that. You can just sit in cover and twiddle your thumbs, you know. It's just going to keep giving you skill damage, whether you're the person getting the kills or not, as it doesn't require you to get kills. It's very automatic, it's very fluid. So, you know, yes, it is definitely better than Memento in content where you are less likely to be the person closing the kill. But I find personally for my skill build that in almost all content I would rather just take Memento, because it just offers too much additional skill damage over this, as well as a ton of other buffs, including if I just want to change this to you know, the burn sticky bomb, I could, because I have skill efficiency as opposed to skill damage, and then therefore I'm buffing the entirety of what a burn sticky bomb could do, not just half of it. So yeah, that's my honest review on the Waveform. I'd give it a 4 out of 5 for skill builds. I think it works really good for hybrid builds as well as just pure skill builds. You know, if you're running a PvP build that's maybe half red core, half yellow core, this is great, as it still gives 30% on that base damage, which is substantial. And if you just had a couple of explosive, you know, like a sticky bomb and a seeker mine in PvP, then this could fit really nicely with those. You just have to alternate around which direction the buff is pointing in. So yeah, you know, it definitely has a place in the game. It's a very powerful exotic, very, very good for legendary endgame content. But I will be using this less than my Memento on multiple builds, just because of the sheer power that skill efficiency has brought to skill builds. It's the best stat in the game, and if you can spec heavily into it, the heaviest way of course being Empress combined with Memento, then to be honest, that build, once fully stacked, will do more damage than any other variation. Thank you very much for watching. I would like it if you would all give your honest opinions and thoughts about Waveform and Memento for that matter in the comments, and please be honest about how you feel my thoughts and opinions are on these two exotics. You know, I like them both, but I definitely am weighted towards Memento. Let me know your thoughts on the same subject. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.